start. Okay, please call to the order. Rich, over there.
Sure, the roll call. Scott Friels.
Here.
Luis Machain.
Here.
Shirley Brewer.
Here.
Yolanda Delgado.
Present.
David Medeiros.
Here.
We have a quorum, thank you. Want to do the pledge?
Pledge?
Let's do the pledge.
Yeah.
Stand. I pledge
Allegiance to the
Against
flag
the flag
of the United States
of America,
and to the republic for which
republic
it
for
stands,
which it
one
stands,
nation, under God,
one nation,
indivisible,
under God,
with liberty and justice for all.
liberty and justice for all. Amen.
Right.
Thank you. Okay, roll call.
We have that. Luis, I did roll call.
Okay. We cannot hear you well. Trish.
Oh, okay, we did roll call, so we're good.
Yes, please.
Yeah, you're very audible, like a robot. I can't understand you, Trish.
I don't have a microphone, that might be part of it.
Yeah. There you go.
Okay, so we took care of roll call, so we'll move to consent.
So we've got public comment not on the agenda. Next.
Yes,
Okay.
public comment not on the agenda, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, let's move on there. Consent items. We have approval affidavit of the posting agenda. I move. Somebody want to move?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I'd like to move that we approve the consent agenda items, the affidavit of posting, approved minutes for March 10th meeting, approved minutes of June 18th special meeting, and approve the minutes of the August 4th meeting.
I second that.
Yolanda second. All in favor?
Aye.
Agenda passed. Approve minutes of the March 10th, 2020 meeting.
I approve.
Okay, Yolanda Delgado moves to approve. Second.
I'll second it, David.
Okay, David second. David?
Yes, I second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Sounds like you're alone. Okay, thank you.
Yes. Yes, Don?
So, thank you, Luis. Members of the Historic Resources Board, can you see the screen? Am I sharing my screen effectively?
Yes.
Okay, thank you for confirming that. I got halfway through a presentation the other week, and I was the only one who could see the slides. So I appreciate that. We adopted design guidelines for our parklets, and our transformation of 3rd Street was a big moment in our city's history to help our businesses get rolling as soon as possible. That was back in June, and they've done a terrific job. They take a lot of pride in the work and the labor that went into each parklet, and it really shows, and it really makes a difference. However, as we got started, we had a few bumps that we needed to wrinkles to straighten out, and that's why we're coming back to you. Liz Turner, our community liaison, has been working with the Business Forum, presenting the design guidelines to them and introducing some new ideas that weren't originally considered. And a lot of those ideas include the health and safety guidelines to make sure that that each one abides by the building code and doesn't present any health or safety issues for the members of the public. Then accessibility, both accessibility as far as getting onto a parklet, a deck, and getting off, and also accessibility between the facade of the building and the parklet itself, maintaining 4 or 5 feet of clearance there so walking path and wheelchair can get by. And then one of the more complicated issues that we're working with is temporary considerations that include weatherization and special occasions. So our parklets went in as temporary features, and in the building code I have the building official Greg Johnson here and Fire Marshal Charlie Bonilla here to help us if we need some help interpreting some of these things. But temporary will change if the parklets change to permanent is approved, and that is later on this agenda. So it's really quite basic changes we're asking the HRB to consider. Doesn't have a lot to do with the design, but I just wanted to make sure that people were aware that our guidelines do have these features in them. See if I can at least show the bottom. Section 2.8 in our June guidelines talks about constructing a parklet so that it doesn't unreasonably obstruct the visibility of the building or the business next to it. So the idea is that the parklet will be a low height and will allow the building to be seen. And to that extent, the colors of the parklet, if it's going to be painted, the HRB knows that the natural colors are preferred in our design guidelines. Many of the parklets have stuck to the natural colors. It looks wonderful. But if we do want to paint them, that they have to match the building, or go to the HRB for approval if they want to change and be different from the building itself. So this is a diagram from our existing plans that show a 5-foot span between the building and the parklet. So I just kind of wanted to refresh our memory and just make sure that everyone was aware that the existing parklets include those considerations. So I've had a couple intense conversations with the fire marshal and the building official today about temporary. And Charlie made it clear to me that temporary on public property is different than temporary on private property. So as I drive through Salinas to work every day, I see a number of tents, and they're all on private parking lots. And that's different than putting a tent on our public right-of-way, and I understand that better than I did this morning. So moving forward, the public property, the idea of a tent would be very temporary. We imagine a situation where if there's inclement weather, if it rains in the morning and then it's beautiful and sunny in the afternoon, that a tent could go up to protect the breakfast customers at the Mission Cafe, for example, or the tents could come down when the weather improves. So that they wouldn't stay up for months and months and months and be subject to deterioration and other things. If it's all possible to keep a tent under 120 square feet, that's a 10 by 12. I think our current guidelines say 700 square feet, but I was told by the building official today that if we can keep it below 120 square feet, then we avoid a lot of the health and safety issues that we pay them to keep track of for us. We don't want to be attaching small tents together. You see that often at the rib cook-off and other events. That always the windsail or canvas cover is preferred. It's the most attractive. It's practical. It does let some of the rain through, so there's pros and cons. But it lets the air circulate through, which is certainly friendly when we're fighting this virus. Only one wall can remain in place, so if you have a tent, the one wall has to be down. And as an example, they must be secured with a 40-pound weight, and there's a whole list in the guidelines of different weights and things that can be used. The heaters are all governed by different codes, just as you would for your house. You would want it UL registered, and that they work best with no roof. So I just wanted to take a quick look as we glance at these. Let's see, come back over here. I just wanted to bring them up real quick so we could see them. And that's not them. And no, I don't see them anywhere. Pardon me for a minute. Where's my Adobe? There they are. Okay. So now I can go back to Zoom and back over here. And it didn't go over there. Okay. So hold on just a sec. I'll be right there, guys. Share screen. Here we go. Here they are. And share. Okay. So, there we go. Now I've got to move that over there. No, it's not moving. That over there. No, it's not moving. Ah, there we go. Okay.
It.
So, oh,
We have a
good.
blank screen now, and we just have your desktop.
Oh, okay. I wonder how that happened. So you just have my desktop. Okay. Then I can move that back over here. Is that better? You just-
I think you need to scroll.
yeah, I'm scrolling. You know these better than anyone. Oh, wait, there we go. Yeah, temporary guidelines. Okay. Trying to figure out, I'm only on page 8. I wanted to get to the part that's new, but the document doesn't seem to have loaded because of the internet. So, I don't know. The data on the page isn't showing, so. I'm gonna close that. And I'll go file. Try loading it again. Let me try loading it again. Clockwise. There we go. All right, let's see if I got a little better representation. Thank you for your patience. These are the guidelines. Most of this language here is all from the 2018 document. We need to update this with current pictures of our parklets, Liz. That would be awesome.
Okay.
That would be awesome. The word temporary comes out. Those are my great Photoshops. We did talk about barriers and the height of barriers. That's important. There's the street layout. There's the 5 feet unless approved by the director. Barrier designs. There's the use of trellis, but for a barrier. Barrier measurements, 36 inches in height, not less than. We've been improving them upwards towards 48 inches, I believe. And I just wanted to get to the details in section 3. Section 3 is the new section. And there's our winterization. There's our winterization that talks about the
Could you
different
back the last page down, please?
Sure. The one above that, this one?
Yes, this one.
Right. This talks about the 5 foot.
This kind of sidewalk, where is located?
This is a wider sidewalk than the sidewalk we have. This is probably a 20-foot wide sidewalk. I'm not sure it's located in our downtown. It was a sample taken from a generic document. But
Oh, yes, because I don't think we don't have any kind of this size of sidewalks.
good
in
point.
town.
Good point, Luis. Right. This is the part that we amended the guidelines with. Talking about the fire department inspection, fabric that is inherently flame resistant, seating arrangements and tents are subject to the COVID-19 requirements, All pretty much common sense, I think. And then it goes into the specifications that I referenced in the slideshow about heating elements. UL listed vented to the exterior, installed pursuant to the electrical code, open flames and charcoal, not operated within 10 feet of combustible service, portable or fixed outdoor fireplaces should not be operated within 15 feet of a combustible surface. In the event compliance is not achievable, then alternate means would need to be approved by our fire marshal, Charlie. So, and then securing requirements, I talked about a 40-pound weight. That's the second bullet, but there are various ways that you can secure a temporary tent if you wanted to go that route. So that's what's new in the guidelines. We've covered all of this. This is all good. Okay. All right. So I just wanted to glance, and if people want to go back and forth as we talk about the design guidelines, I'm happy to go back and refer to that again. So in the meantime, I will come back over here and
Don, could you go back to 1.4 because it's not correct. You guys added on various barriers and acceptable parklets. Generally, it was only 36 inches, and that's what we approved. And now I see that it was changed to 36 to 48 inches in height. Did we not have to agree on changing it to 48, or we can just change them without the historic committee approval?
No, we're here to get your approval, so I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah, because when you said the only thing that was new is section 3, but I discussed this with you all, and I said, no, you guys just can't arbitrarily change it. You need to get our approval. And I see that it's not even highlighted or anything, and you didn't indicate it that you changed it.
1.3, is that where you are, Yolanda?
1.4.
1.4, so it was 36, and now it's from 36 up to 48 inches in height.
Right. Well, okay. I didn't notice that either. So I'm glad you brought that up. We've been approving 48 inches because the building official was happy with that height.
But the Historical Planning Commission authorized 36 inches.
So that's what this meeting is about, right?
Yeah, that's
One of the changes.
Exactly.
So why is the other person overstepping their bounds and allowing somebody to go to 48 if it clearly says 36? And this is what I've said from day one. We needed somebody accountable. If they would have had it, they would have said, nope, it's 36 inches, not 48. And we have all these things that are not following, like the lattice. The lattice should only be used as a barrier, not in addition to the height.
Well, the point in bringing these back, and I'm sorry we didn't point this out to.
I'm just trying to say somebody should not have approved 48 inches and not looking at the proper things that we approved. It should have been 36, not 48. What gave the person the right to say 48 inches?
Building and safety.
Well,
It's about the we're asking for.
yeah, but we approved 36, and what I understand it's 48 now, but we should never have gone to 48. It should have been at 36, and now we have to make up somebody's approval. And here we chastise certain certain businesses that are not following the guidelines when our planning commissioner can't even follow the guidelines. And the lattice should have never been added to any addition of height. That's what I'm trying to say. This is all temporary, so I get when we approved 36 inches because we still wanted to see the historical buildings.
Is there anything currently at 48 inches that's out there?
Everything is 48 inches, Scott. It should have been 36 and they approved it at 48.
Well, no, I don't believe everything is. 18 barrels isn't, and neither is sections, but I could be wrong. And I don't know, is this brought to us because this is something that needs to be re-permitted, or has this already been implemented?
So 36 inches was in the June document. Through the process of going through building inspections and other things, apparently some of them got biased at 48 inches. So rather than telling the shop owners to reduce their heights to 36 inches, we have attempted to amend this by making it 36 to 48 inches. So we're here to present changes to the design guidelines, and so I'm glad Yolanda brought this to our attention. And the question is, does the HRB agree with this change or not? And Yolanda's totally right. We should be out there. We were out there with a measuring tape on Saturday. You can ask Tammy. So we are trying to do a better job. We have bought some new measuring tapes, and that's the way it is.
Are they, and then also, are they a quarter to a half an inch thick, or are they larger than a half an inch thick? Or did you guys allow them to go further than a half an inch? I mean, these are what we approved, and what I guess I'm saying, I'm kind of like upset that you guys did not listen to the historical planning when we said 36 inches, and you guys, oh, okay, yeah, it's 48 is okay, when this is why I'm saying we need to follow our rules so we don't have this mess.
I know where, Yana, I know where you're coming from now. I'm sorry, I was confused about the whole thing, and I fully agree with that. Did all the businesses downtown all get the same documentation? On the size of the parklets?
Yes.
Don?
Yes, we only have one set of guidelines.
Okay, so we have one set, again, they're crystal clear in the guidelines, but they still went ahead and built heights on their own? Is that correct?
They submitted plans, and the plans were reviewed, and the encroachment permit was issued based on the plans submitted. More than once.
Fully
More than once.
Fully knowing that the plans were incorrect from what like Yolanda was saying, than what was approved?
Correct.
Okay. Yeah, I see your frustration now, Yolanda. I'm sorry about that.
Okay.
I was getting it intermittently. I apologize. I'm on a crappy iPad, so.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's.
And
I don't understand. Why are we even here? I mean, it just seems like I'm wasting my time if we're not going to.
Yes.
I'm going to mute.
So is that it? If you make a mistake, you just throw the whole program away? I hope that's not the answer to this. We made a mistake. We're doing the best we can. This is the first time we've ever done this. I can't tell you how Hollister wanted to be just like us. We heard that over and over again. I think we've done an awesome job. We can get hung up on 12 inches if you want, and you can fire the staff if you want. I don't know how to change it now, and I apologize for your frustration, Yolanda. I apologize.
Well, it shouldn't have happened in the first place, though.
Right, but I've got 8 employees, Yolanda. We're doing the best we can. I'm
I
sorry.
can understand one mess up, but how many 48 inches, Don?
I've got a city to run. Liz, can you answer that?
Okay, so just to back it up, Yolanda, the plan is submitted, the encroachment permit, engineering checks the plan. There's not enough staff to go check every building every time, and so when we got the building official involved and the fire department involved, it continue to help us stay.
Yeah, but did you not tell them to make it, the plans to make it 36 inches? That's what my whole frustration is. If the historical planning said 3 feet, 36 inches, and I asked Don, who's responsible for this? And Don says, I am.
I am.
Well, then Don takes the fall.
There you go. I'll take the fall.
If I tell you to build 36 inches and the historical planning agrees on 36 inches, then why wasn't the person in charge saying, don't let them be higher than 36 inches? Because this is what the historical planning committee allowed. That's what I'm saying. Whose responsibility was it to show them, the historical planning allowed 36 inches, a quarter inch, I mean, somebody should have had some kind of input understand that, but then this goes back to my frustration. When they built the homes out there, no one overseeing these. Don promised me they would have somebody held accountable to these buildings. You know, like when you build a house, it's phase one, does it pass? Yes, no, and then go to the next phase. And we could have eliminated a lot of all this frustration. I've been on the Wednesday meetings, I've been asking for guidelines for a while now, and I get these, and Don goes, well, you approved them, and then I say, well, oh, okay, and then I said, oh yeah, we approved 36 inches, then I go out there, some are 40, 48 inches, and so.
But, I mean, we can go back, but let me explain something though. To be honest, the part that I feel like people missing, yes, did we run out there like our pants were on fire to try to hurry up and save our businesses and build things and create a place so that customers can go and so that maybe we could save all of our businesses? We haven't had to close too many businesses. I don't know how long that's gonna be. So the whole purpose of this program was to be able to save our business community and in turn save San Juan Bautista. Because without a business community, we don't have a city. So if we make some mistakes, yes. If we've gotten the building official from the beginning, yes. You know, should we have more meetings with fire? Okay, yes. But, you know.
Here's the thing. To check this kind of projects, we have a guidelines, and these guidelines to me is only a checklist. If we receive at the city, for example, a proposal for a parklet, we only need to check the guidelines and make a checklist.
Yes.
If project comply with our guidelines, it's only yes, no. It's not comply, we send it back to with our business person and say, you need only to figure out this and this and this. And later we have fire department, and for example, right now, I'm checking our guidelines, and we need to comply with ADA. Okay, our ADA is to me is a little bit it's only comply with some part of the accessibility. We need to comply with the ADA. Okay, so I think we are really out of the country with the guidelines and what we have right now in the projects. Okay, to me, it's not lack of a staff.
No.
Lack of put a little more attention on what we have in our guidelines and the projects. I think we can check every project in 1 hour. Every project we can check and compare these guidelines with the project in 1 hour. I can tell you for sure.
I don't think that there's any that are off, and the ones that are off, and again, these are guidelines and these are draft guidelines. Okay, that's why they haven't been finalized. But yeah, we can do that. We can go out and we will, and we have, and that's what we do. And we have inspections, and that's where we have our building official come by. We have our fire marshal come by. We do go through and check them. All of these people that have gotten an encroachment permit, that's we check them. The 36, 48, that is that really wasn't an issue up until just recently, because something got taller.
Now to me, Yolanda,
So how do we fix it?
what the all members think, but we
commission, the city planner, the liaison, the code enforcement, and all those that approved them without looking at our guidelines. I apologize you on my behalf, because I heard on Wednesday meeting, well, the planning commissioner says it all is okay. No. We need to go by I apologize to you business owners, and I just wanted to make a point. This is a temporary situation. But if it becomes permanent, we have to have guidelines that our planning officer knows, because he didn't know, obviously, because he approved 48. And this is what's upsetting to me, Liz, that they don't follow what we approve.
I know.
And that's it.
Luis, I don't think either one of us, myself or Yolanda, are asking the businesses to go tear down their parklets and.
No.
No.
There's no way we would do it.
Oh, no.
All right, so can we go forward? I think we got the point here. We started with 36, that was approved. There's gonna be some changes, don't forget that this particular is a guideline.
Right.
And the word there is should, it's not must.
Yes.
At all costs, so it could be less than 36. As long as, whatever, as long as it meets the safety guidelines, what have you. As far as aesthetics go, when it comes to historical, this is our first attempt. And
Yes.
we're starting to learn where we need to go with this, because we're getting deeper and deeper into it, and we're finding out things that we need to go forward with. So we need to make a decision tonight, go forward with that. So I think we've discussed this issue long enough. Where do we need to go now?
I think we need to let the public
Now,
speak on it.
are there any other questions? Are there anything that we want to discuss as a board? Other than that,
And once again, I want somebody accountable if they don't meet what we approve, because this is an historical town, and people want to see the buildings when they drive down 5 miles. And if it's 4 feet, will it impede the beauty of our historical downtown? That's what I'm trying to get at.
yeah.
I need somebody that's going to say, okay, before you build a parklet, you got to put this first. Call me. I mean, it's not that hard. It's not a big city. If the platform, okay, great. Make sure it's ADA compliance before you move to the next thing. That's what I've always asked for. Someone accountable. We have 4 people accountable, and everybody's saying different things. And that's all I got to say. I'm going on mute.
May I say something?
Yes, please, Shirley.
I think that I am in total agreement with what Yolanda's saying. I think a mistake was made, and I think probably because of the guidelines that we did approve, said 36 when the plans went for approval, they should have said no. I'm sorry that the Historic Resources Board approved 36 inches, they didn't approve 48, so they should have denied that. I see no reason to go back. We cannot ask them to lower it just because something happened. Mistake was made. Let's just move on, and let's just try to make sure we don't do that again.
I agree. Yes, so,
But again, who's going to be held accountable? Because I don't want these businesses to think that we don't know what we're doing. That one person is doing approving something, and the other one's approving something else. There has to be rules that are followed. Who will be held accountable? Who should be held accountable?
yeah.
So this doesn't happen again.
Who's in charge, Don, all this?
It's my program. I hired Liz. I wrote Liz's job description. I'm the one that's accountable. But every time I say that, it seems to land on deaf ears. I'm more than happy to take full responsibility for this. And tell me, we've spent a lot of time doing the best job we can. I'm sorry it's not perfect. So please accept my apologies.
I know
Please
that,
accept my apologies. I don't know what else to say.
You are not responsible about to check every project. I think we have a staff for checking every project. You are not the.
We do, and I guess I just need to pay closer attention. Liz and I just need to pay closer attention. And as David said, we made a mistake. We learned from our mistake. Thank you, Yolanda, for pointing that out. We hear you loud and clear.
So my suggestion, I think, is this: to amend the height to 36 and add about the ADA compliant.
There is an amendment to line. That's one of the new amendments to that, and that we got that information from our building official and, our fire marshal.
Where is it in the plan?
At the end. And so that all gets checked. So basically, there's several stages and everything gets approved. And when the plans are approved, we don't go by every day and measure every single, you know what I mean? The ADA gets measured, but we're not checking, we're trusting that everyone is following through, and there are checkpoints, and they do get checked, and, that come up recently, we ask them to stop building until we go through the approval process, which is the latest, and I know that it's the parklet you're very concerned about, and so we've done that, we stopped and we talked about it, so that run into the problems, we try to fix the problems as they come along. But everyone does submit engineering, so the building official goes out, inspects, and makes approvals or they make changes. There are some parklets that have had to redo their ADA ramp. There's different things done and they do get approved. There are processes and things do get checked.
I have my hand raised. Can we have the planning commissioner, the building inspector that is going to approve these, have these for the next ones that we have, so we don't have to go through this? Or whoever approves it? Like Louis said, that they should send in their plans, and if it's more than, if we approve it for 48, then make sure it's 48 inches high. Somebody needs to be held accountable.
Firing squad, what do you recommend?
I mean, if you're the one that's accountable, and if you want to be fired, if you want to put your resignation, go ahead. But I'm tired of things slipping through the crack. The building down there that we had to ask for Loaiza, because no one was accountable for that. Is anybody being held accountable for Copperleaf? I just want things done in an orderly fashion so we don't have to pay for it. Like Copperleaf, they plugged up one of the meters because no one was watching them do the road, and the city team had to go out there and find the meter to unplug it because no one's watching them. Somebody has to inform these people to do it right so we don't have to pay this. They were using our water for I don't know how long. How much revenue did we miss, Tom?
To be honest with you, I'm not sure what you're talking about.
Oh, okay. I just want someone to oversee the engineering of buildings. Like there's going to be a building on 7th Street. Who's going to go over there and red tag it if it's not being built right? That's what I want.
Our building inspector.
Okay, well, our building inspector let him go to 48 inches. So I have no faith in our building inspector.
Our building inspector was not inspecting parklets till after most of them were built. So.
Then why did you say that? Then that's why this is where it's at, because he was checking them out after they were built, which is that's wow.
Okay. And when you move on, so
hey, we should have had them involved from the beginning. It's all come together so quickly. I feel like we're all doing, including the business owners, and I feel like we're all doing this to the best of our ability with what we know for something that we've never experienced before. So Hollister gets to learn from all of our mishaps and mistakes, and they want to move forth and go ahead and do it, and so they get to now have the benefit. They have they have Charlie, they have Greg, they have all these people, and they're doing it the right way. We were the guinea pigs. So, I feel like that's part of the reason. But had we waited longer to get and get everything lined up, that would have been more time to function. Okay,
what are the changes?
Luis, I brought up on the screen the accessibility guidelines. And these again are working with the Building a Code, Chapter 11B. I just wanted to show you that they were now in the guidelines, they weren't before.
Yes, I think we need to move on.
Did you want the public to comment on this?
Yes, we will ask somebody else, somebody want to ask something on the public?
yeah, I know that there's a lot of public here.
Yeah, Liz, let me ask this. Yes, speak, you want?
Yes, I would like to first thank our city manager and Liz and all those that have been working with this project. As it's been stated, this is something new for all of us. I closed my business March 13th. I was closed for nearly 6 months. That meant I had no income. But when these guidelines were brought to me, I've invested a lot in San Juan because I love San Juan. And I would do nothing to detract from the beauty and the historic atmosphere that it has. But I think all of us as business owners have worked our behinds off to try to come up to what we were asked to do. And it's because we want to be in San Juan as a business. We want to be able to thrive. And I appreciate the efforts that have been made on our behalf to allow us to do that. Now, this being new, there are going to be mistakes made. None of us are perfect, but we need to wake up and smell the coffee, because if we keep going the way we've been going, this will be a ghost town. And I did not invest all of this with no income coming in and putting out thousands of dollars for the park that I feel proud of. I'm proud of everyone that I've seen. And I have a register in my store for people who comment on the park list. And I had nothing but positive comments. Some from the area, some outside of the area. But everyone has said it's woke, the town is awake now. It makes them feel welcome. So whatever we need to do to correct whatever errors that have been made, they should not be things that are insurmountable. We just need to do it so we can progress and move forward. And if we keep going round and round and round, I'm here as a business because I want to be. invested thousands of dollars in this project. So I think we need to work together with whatever the issues may be and just get it done. Quit talking about it, just get it done so that we can move forward. There's enough stuff going backwards and it doesn't make any sense. We have people working hard. Don works hard. Liz works hard. The building people that come through. And I've been in this city long enough to have seen a couple of decades of changes and then going backwards and then changes. It's time for us to be a little more progressive. And nothing that we're doing, we're not trying to take the historical factor out of San Juan. We're trying to enhance what's already here. And first of all, we're trying to survive as businesses. But we need your help to do that.
Thank you, Ms. B. Somebody else has some comments?
Hey everyone, this is Fran from Brewery 25. I definitely echo the passion and emotion that Mrs. B is feeling, and she's been here for a very, very long time, and I have a huge amount of respect for her and what she's been doing for the community. I just want to touch on the fact that I've been on so many meetings since this pandemic started, from the Board of Supervisors to our local meetings, and I really have appreciated everything that Yolanda and David have done for us on the Wednesday meetings and just understanding. And I totally understand the feelings of those are the rules and follow them. All of my careers have been about following the rules, and also I'm in the alcohol industry, and so if you don't follow the rules, we lose our business and our license. And so I completely respect that. But I also see that many of us are doing things that we have never done before and trying to figure it out. And so I do ask for the patience and understanding that. And I've always been an advocate for, we do a lot of things behind the desk. And I have always been, all of my jobs that I've had have always been hit the street and go out there and talk to people and make sure people understand what's going on. And so that's what I've tried to do since this pandemic. And I think that that's going to be what we've got to continue to do. And we need to help each other. And like I said, I'm so grateful for our meetings that we have on Wednesdays. It's all the businesses, and no one else is doing that. I can guarantee you that there's not any city in our region that's doing a meeting like we're doing, where all the businesses have an opportunity to talk to, you know, their community liaison, their city manager, their mayor, their vice mayor, city planning. It's a really special, unique opportunity that we have, and I'm so thankful for that. But we need to continue to help each other, and I know there's frustration, but I appreciate everyone's patience. And please continue to help us. There's a lot of really dark clouds coming with Santa Cruz going back to the red tier, and San Francisco closing down all of their restaurants and bars again. There's a lot of dark clouds coming, and so I would appreciate everyone to be patient with one another and try to figure out how you can get out there and help educate, or get out there and help make sure we're all doing the right things. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Fran. Okay, any other comment?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I have something to say. I'm not sure if so this is Dan DeVries, 405 Fifth Street. I don't know if I'm saying this as a private citizen who lives on Fifth Street or as a sitting city council member, or both, but I'm just gonna let it rip. So I've been listening this whole time, and I'm a little bit confused, and I think others may be as well. Are we talking about a systemic problem with the parklets on 3rd Street, or are we talking about one business, Mission Cafe? In other words, are there really problems with the railing heights of the other parklets, or is this all about Mission Cafe? If it's about one business, then let's let's talk about that business. Let's talk about what we can do to fix it and rectify the situation. But as far as I can tell, the parklet at Anaka, for example, and Donia's, I think those are the only two others that are applicable. Those seem pretty good to me. And I think it would behoove us all and be beneficial to us all just to isolate the issue right now.
No, Dan, we're not just picking on Mission Cafe. I am bringing forward things that are not being followed, like the 36 inches and the lattice being added to height. That's what and that's what we approved. And I'm not going to say, wait a minute, Dan, I let you speak.
I hear you.
So please hold on.
I hear you.
I think all the parklets are beautiful, and I don't want them to knock down the parklets. I don't want them to cut down a half an inch, but I want them to follow the rules that the Historical Planning Committee has put in place, and that's what I'm trying to say. I'm not going to pick out Anaka's or Doyer Stairs no. All businesses should follow the rules, not just one that we want to point out. Maybe you have an issue with that, but I do not. I just want all buildings to follow the codes that the HR approved in height, width, and dimension. So I'm not on board with you.
Well, I think you are on board with me because I don't think you understand what board I'm on. I'm 100% in agreement with you. But it was a two-step question. The first step was, is the problem that we have right now Mission Cafe in terms of not following the rules? And so has everyone else followed the rules? Or is Mission Cafe the only one that hasn't followed the rules? As to your overall point, Yolanda, about not following rules, I've been sitting in your chair for better part of 30 years, and I know all about, like what Scott Friel said earlier. Well, then why do we put in the time if no one's going to enforce this stuff? It's a waste of time, and we always refer to that as code enforcement. If no one's, like we do conditions of approval on permits, right, on applications. If no one's going to enforce the conditions of approval, then why am I going to argue about it for an hour if no one's going to care about it anyway? I know all about that. I'm with you 1,000%. I'm just trying right now to identify the issue, what's sticking in everybody's craw on 3rd Street right now. Is it only the Mission Cafe parklet, or are there other parklets also that are being viewed as not being in compliance with the rules?
Well, I've read some of the you can't use plants as barricades for the parklets, and some of the establishments are using them as barricades. It can only be at the corner and 36 inches tight, and lattice could only be as a barrier. So it's not just Mission Cafe, and it's not just other establishments. I'm not here to segregate anybody out, but from here forward, I want somebody to be accountable for what's being built and how it's being built. That's what I want.
Yeah, no, for sure. For sure. Okay, but I think we can agree that as to the height issue and so forth, Mission Cafe seems to be striking a nerve. And there may be some other using plants as barricades issues as well. That sounds like it's maybe daisies or mom and pops. And I don't have a problem identifying these businesses. That's one of the nice things about living in San Juan. It's so small. We know all these people, and we know the people who own them. So we can talk about it.
Don says it's too big, he can't handle it. So I don't know. You say it's too small. John says it's too big.
No, listen. Yolanda, listen. Don Reynolds is doing a hell of a great job. And okay, so we got to kind of zero in on the problem here. So if Mission Cafe is a problem, it is in violation of the guidelines, then it seems like there needs to be some kind of idea or program to get them into compliance with the Sawzall or a skill saw or something.
Right now, everybody's out of compliance because we approved 36 inches. So right now, not only Mission Cafe is, everybody's out of compliance. If we want to go.
Well, that was my question, Yolanda. So is Donia's then out? Are they higher than 36 and
Yes.
Oh, they are?
Yeah. So this is why we have to bring this forward, and they want us to approve it, which, to me, I apologize to the businesses, and Ms. B, I'm sorry, but I want somebody in City Hall or the Planning Commission to have someone accountable to make sure that we can follow the rules that the historical planning sets forward. And like Scott said, then why are we here to approve things if you guys are going to adjust it to 48 and not tell us?
Okay.
That's what I'm saying.
So as far as the height railing issue is concerned, Yolanda, you think that exists at more than one location?
Correct.
All right.
as those pipe railings are concerned, those were per plans that were turned into the city.
Correct.
And Yolanda is saying, if the city approves these plans, and after they approve them, ensures that they are built per plans.
Correct.
That seems like a legitimate question to me. And that's it.
Thank you, Dan. Okay, Margaret, you have a question or a comment?
Yes, hi, this is Margot with Margot's Ice Cream Parlor. And, Dan DeVries has said a lot of what I was wanting to say. I do want to add that I don't have a parklet, but I do support the parklets for what they were built for. I totally stood behind the restaurants needing the outside dining. But here again, the guidelines need to be followed. The merchants just aren't supposed to do whatever they want. It's kind of like what happened with La Casa Rosa. And then people say, oh, well, we made a mistake and we don't, we can't do anything about it now. The historic board is here for a reason. And there to keep us in line with our historic status for the downtown area. I'm very frustrated because we try and follow the guidelines, the city, but it just seems like on, nobody is held accountable. Everybody's always pointing the finger to somebody else, and then we end up in the same situation again. And I've been here over 24 years. We've had the ice cream parlor, so I have seen a lot of comings and goings and change, and I'm sitting here very frustrated, and I know there's merchants on the call that are also frustrated, but they don't speak up. So there are quite a few merchants downtown that are frustrated over this issue. And I guess I'm the one that's gonna speak up here. So, thank you.
Thank you, Margaret. Jim?
Yeah, good evening. So I just have a couple of comments, and I agree with what everyone has said. I do. I think that the city is doing a great job, and the merchants have done an outstanding job with the construction of their parklets, and this was not easy. And as someone who's in the construction business, if you were trying to do this up in San Jose, you would be spending thousands of dollars and months and months and months to get through the planning department. So the city of San Juan Bautista reacted extremely quickly and in every business owner's best interest to make this as simple as possible. You can argue about whether the guideline says 36 or 48 inches, and that's fine. I would caution you to say it's 36 inches and refer to it as a guardrail. You need to look up the code on what a guardrail requirement is before you call a 36-inch high barrier a guardrail. So that's one point. The other point, which I think is key, and I also think speaks to several persons' comments here, is, this isn't Don's issue. The buck stops with the chief building inspector. And if it doesn't stop with the chief building inspector, it certainly stops with the fire marshal or the fire chief, who is the AHJ, the authority having jurisdiction. Those are the people that are responsible for implementing and monitoring and enforcing any guideline the city puts together. If those people weren't brought on board early enough in the process before the parklets were built, well, that's unfortunate. But the city did what they needed to do to get these businesses open again. So discussion needs to happen, in my opinion, about who takes blame. Well, those responsible individuals weren't at the table. So figure out how to get them to the table, put the guidelines in front of them, and work with the businesses who have already built parklets and the ones who still may want to build parklets, and work with them on a mutually agreeable situation so they can move forward. That's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, James. Okay, any other comment? If not, we are
Cara has
done
one.
with the comments, and we have to discuss or to approve. I think
We have Cara with her hand up. Is anyone else?
sorry.
Cara has her hand up.
Yes.
Cara Bonner?
Oh, Kara.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, Kara.
Okay, I agree with the last speaker. The building inspector, and I guess the fire marshal, they need to be informed about our guidelines. Obviously, I don't think they have, studied them and know what's included. Because they're the ones that are supposed to be enforcing, the building requirements. That's my comment. Thank you.
Thank you, Kara. Okay. Well, do you want to approve this?
All right.
To the parking plan design guidelines, or you want us to wait for the amendments and the changes and to approve next time, or do you want to approve with the condition in the guidelines? Yes, I'm asking to the board.
Luis, this is Scott.
Scott.
Just a quick question. On the 48 inches, is this something that our building inspector and our fire marshal has have they requested that height for any safety reasons? First question. And if I could just clarify, at no point in time did I say shutting down any parklets or closing any parklets or stopping any businesses. That's not going to happen. I just want everybody to know we were under a ton of pressure also, as much as Dawn was, to get this stuff done. And it was, I can tell you, I took phone calls at least 2 or 3 a day on people ripping my butt because people just hated the fact that we were going to put these things on downtown. So trust me, some of us took a beating on this whole thing. But if we can get back to that, is if it's a safety issue, if it has to be 48 inches due to a safety issue, then I'm 100% okay with that, and I have no issues with the rest of the guidelines. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott.
And I agree with Scott. I don't want to put anybody out of business, and don't think that I do to all the business owners. I just want us to be cohesively and follow rules, and so we don't have these issues. Like Marco said, everybody points the finger, and I just want to move forward. And if it is a safety issue for 48, or I'm not going to have you knock it down, I have no problem with it, and I'm not pointing anybody out either.
Okay, I'll say something at this point in time. One question I have right now is, Liz, have all of you businesses, have you reviewed the guidelines? Have you sat down in a meeting and gone through all the guidelines with all the businesses? Liz? Turn on your mic.
Sorry, let me unmute myself. Everyone's received the guidelines, and again, I want to make sure that we all know the reason amendments for the, ATA compliance and the, fire compliance. They all got privy to that before it was added to this. Have we sat through and read them all together? No, we have not.
Okay, so thank you for that. I'm with Scott, I'm with Yolanda, I'm with Shirley, and I think we just need to move forward on this.
Yes.
I think the city's doing a wonderful job, all of us, and I think who's accountable? I think we all are. I think every one of us, we're all have to do our part for the city, and I think we're doing a good job today. This is a good meeting. We've had some good discussions. Now we need to make a decision and move forward with this. That's my comment. Thank you.
Thank you, David.
Louise,
Yes, Sherry.
is the 48 inches, as Scott asked, is that a safety issue that one of the reasons that it was approved to go above 36? Is there some reason that we didn't know at the time that we approved 36 inches?
Yes.
Is there another reason?
Yes, 48 inches and barrier, I think is a security issue. They are asking some places another barrier as security barriers, but like concrete or something before you before you put that kind of handrails. You know, a handrail for a kind of for housing, yeah, you can ask for 36 inches, but for another kind of barriers is 48.
Okay. So are we asked tonight to approve that as part of the draft going forward? Tonight?
Well, I think so.
I'm with Scott. If that's what we need to do for safety, then I'm good with that.
Well, is there an amendment on there, a resolution, so I can say that I want to pass it? Is it in there, Don?
No, we didn't bring it through with the resolution. Sorry.
HRB doesn't do it.
Yeah,
Okay.
HRB doesn't do resolutions, so.
We're recommending to the planning commission to approve this.
Yes, I think
So,
it is.
Somebody want to move you move a Scott, right?
I move that we allow 48 inches and no higher than 48 inches.
Okay.
I would second that.
Oh, okay.
So, but the whole, the guidelines, okay, thank you for that clarification, thank you.
We need to approve the whole guidelines, and add the,
I think look at the amendment. Now we need to approve the guidelines. Somebody want to move?
I approve that we approve the guidelines and amendments to the draft.
Okay.
Point of clarification, what is the 42 inches that's coming up on the screen? Somebody's questioning 42 instead of 48?
Right. Someone it to be 42, I think.
No.
I'm not gonna have the businesses cut down from 48 to 42. I mean, it was our bad, our planning commissioner said it's okay, so we need to.
This is
allow
Carl, what about going forward? Apparently, it's 42 according to the gentleman who's in the construction business.
For safety, you mean?
Right.
It's not safety, tell me if I'm wrong, Don or Liz, did somebody approve 48 in our city? Is that why we're at 48 inches?
So we have Greg Johnson on the call. Greg, can you talk to the difference between a commercial guardrail and a residential guardrail and how tall a commercial guardrail needs to be?
Yeah, so commercial guardrail is 42 inches. However, what we are looking at here, I am looking at ADA only. The city is doing the rest of it as far as, you know, what colors and everything else. We're not getting permits. If we were to get permits, and we had to follow the guidelines per the code, the California Building Code, we'd be spending a lot more money trying to get, spending a lot more money trying to get these things properly. As, again, all I can say is we put this together as fast as we could
Yes.
to get the businesses working.
Yes.
And,
Yes.
and I, you know, we looked, I just said, listen, I will look at the ADA. If there's electrical, I will look at the electrical. As long as it's under 3 feet high, the platform is a platform. It's not under code. As far as your walls, that is up to the city. That's not up to the building. Now, if you want to get into doing the building with code, with permits, then everything's going to change. That's not what we want. We're trying to keep the people of San Juan working. And, you know, I'm sorry, Don, I think you've done a hell of a job. And I know that we've had our differences, but you've worked hard. Everybody's worked hard. Liz, you've worked hard. The people of San Juan have worked hard. You know, I don't think that pointing the finger at anybody at this point is a good idea. I think we just need to get along, try to get through this, and try to help the people of San Juan. Period.
Okay, thank you. But I agree, but we need to at least to comply with the less requirements of ADA.
Yeah, and you are.
Well, yes, but for example, there are some kind of parklets. We have some steps. Okay.
You have steps?
Yes, in some parklets.
Well, but there should be a ramp. I hate to interrupt you, but if there is no ramp, then I have not looked at it.
No. Yes, but for example,
He's looked at it.
there at least needs to be at the same level. Okay.
Okay.
And for example, in the walk, we need to have some space between the tables and.
Yeah.
That's what I mean about the ADA.
Yeah.
The minimum requirements for ADA.
Yeah. So
We are not asking, some specific and really difficult to comply ADA requirements.
yes. Now let's not get. You're talking about the separation between tables and people, and I agree. That is not in the building code. That is the state mandate, which we have to look at. I agree.
That's correct.
But I do, as a building official, that is out of my jurisdiction. I mean, it's something we need to look at. I have seen that in Don, we've talked about this where we're going to sit down and go through some of this stuff again. As far as the tables go, I agree. They ought to be 6 feet apart, not 3 feet. The people ought to be separated. But again, we're trying to do the best we can right now for what we have. And as we go along, we will make modifications. It's pretty hard. I mean, I don't spend a lot of time, unfortunately, in San Juan. But when I'm down there, I do as much as I can. You know, Liz takes me around, says, look at this, look at that, and we do what we can do. And Mission Cafe, just for everybody's knowledge, when I was out there, I turned them down. They did not pass. They have not passed inspection. We have not been back there since I turned them down. So they are not in compliance as far as I'm concerned. But we're still working on it.
Yeah. And why?
Why did you turn them down?
Because of the fact that they
trying to do the guidelines, how all the changes you told us to do it. We did the ramp, we did the label. We were working on that, and
Who told you that?
him when they came with Liz and they told us we needed the ramp and we needed to do the label and the steps and about the height and everything. We did the changes, and I thought Liz, you told me right that we needed just about the paint now, because but we did all the changes. Did you come to see all the changes we did?
No, nobody's called me out.
Okay, and we did before, so.
And Veronica, excuse me,
Yeah.
did Liz give you the palettes of the colors so you know what to color them? And
Yeah, after the meeting we had, remember, in the meeting that I came at them, she gave me the palette, and we decided to do the same colors like our building, because we cannot do, I wanted to do the same like I have in the front, but because was painted some post on black, it's very hard to remove that color and do the stain. So they told me they needed to remove the post and do new wood. I don't have more money, I'm broke. So then you can see this big deck. So if I do that changes, I'm not going to be able to do it because I'm already working on the license for the beer and wine. So it's too much money. I can't have it. So I decided with that, I'm not happy, but I decided to do the same color like the building. Exactly like the building. The brown with the sounds. With the sounds.
No Oreo.
Chocolate? Somebody gave you the guidelines for parklets?
Yeah, and that day when he came with his.
No. I mean, before we start to build.
Do you like those Oreos?
Yes, we have. Yeah, even the guy that is making the deck for me is the same one that he's doing for Mrs. B. So he knows all the codes and everything. But when they came, he wanted some changes that was about the ramp and the label and all that we did already. So they need to come and see what we did because we did it.
Liz, can we go back on track and go with this stuff? And Veronica, I'm sorry, we can talk to you later about this. Liz and I, can we go help her out so she can go into business and we can move forward? Because and I've offered to go out there with you, Liz. And my offer still stands. I'll go out there with you so we can be in compliance and show the businesses so that they can move forward. Like Mission Cafe was red tagged and no one has gone out there to validate her improvements. So
No, this is a whole other issue that, I mean, there's a little bit more to it that we can talk about. She was going to be on this agenda and we were going to talk about that, and then she changed her mind. Don, was she not? Don, can you please back me up? She was supposed to be on this agenda and we were going to talk about her parklet.
Yep.
And she decided
Yep.
her mind. So we were going to talk about colors and all of
We're
those
going to talk
things.
about colors and we're going to put it on the
So,
agenda. The mayor and I met with her.
We need
Anyway.
to make this a separate thing.
okay.
Okay, thank you. So,
Liz is right.
the agenda, it consider a request to extend the Third Street Parklet program. Please, Don. Thank you, Veronica.
Did we actually approve anything on that last item? I know Yolanda made a proposal and I seconded it. Do we need to vote on that?
Another proposal?
No, on the parklet, the historical, the temporary parklet code, I said that to acknowledge it, but there's no resolution, Don said, so we're just approving it. So made the motion to approve it, and Shirley seconded it.
But we didn't vote on it.
Already approved,
Yeah.
right? We already approved the guidelines, right?
The guidelines, yes.
Yeah, we're already approved. Okay, done.
Can we have a vote on that, Luis?
Okay, yeah. So Yolanda moved the motion? Okay.
Yes.
Somebody needs to make a motion again so we can vote on it.
Okay, I'll make a motion to pass the new addition of from 36 to 48 and section, chapter 3 to 4 with ADA and the, parklet accessibility guide. That's 4, 3, and,
Yes, there's a motion on the table, just as Yolanda says, if you could take a vote now. The second was Shirley.
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay. Okay, done.
Thank you. I'm sharing my screen. Can you see it?
Yes.
Oh, good. Okay, good. We're going to move right from temporary parklets into consideration of permanent parklets. As we heard from our building official, making this transition to permanent parklets is going to be some work perhaps for the business owners, but especially for the city. The city needs to do some work on its end. And so what I'm recommending to the HRB is that we send a recommendation to the Planning Commission tonight that approves a 90-day extension. So the parklets are valid, the encroachment permits are issued through December 31st, and this would extend that temporary status until March 30th. That would give us time to complete a CEQA review. I know I've heard some of the commissioners talk about the traffic impacts. We would do a traffic study, identify need for additional signage and so forth. Obviously, we need more time to hear what the public has to say about the idea of making the parklets permanent. If we were to follow this path, we would follow a path similar to Hollister this time. We would use a lease, and we would lease the parklets to the business owners, and through that lease we could control the maintenance and management and appearance of each parklet. It's a better tool than the encroachment permit, obviously. And then we'd have time to establish special considerations. We've had a lot of conversations with business owners about roof structures, and the building officials made it clear to us that that's going to have to be engineered. It's going to have to require footings, maybe even a foundation. We need to make sure that the maintenance adheres to strict guidelines and that repairs are done in a timely manner should a vehicle or something hit the parklet. So these are all things that we would request, that we would look at and consider, and most importantly, hear the public's concerns between now and March 30th as we consider making parklets permanent. So when I say permanent, I just want to qualify that a person's lease would determine how long that parklet was allowed to be there. If the business went out of business and a new owner leased the business, then we would have to issue a new lease. So I just think it's a much better tool than we have now with the encroachment permit. So it wouldn't be a 50-year lease or a 100-year lease. It would be more like a 2 or 5-year lease. So I just wanted to throw these ideas out to the HRB for consideration tonight in conversation. If there's anyone in the public that has a strong opinion one way or another about the parklets becoming more permanent stature, this is a good time to talk about that. And if the HRB so desires, we can bring it forward to the Planning Commission. Thank you, Chair. Luis, are you there?
Sorry, I was mute. Some questions from the board? Any questions from the board? Comments?
You're going to lease, you're going to have the businesses lease them, charge them money to put the parklets out? Is that what you're saying, John?
Or to maintain their parklet, right. Right. I've talked to a couple business owners who like the idea.
if they're not having that much business, would it be, I don't know.
We also talked about maybe a nominal fee, especially during this crisis. But
I
there's,
mean, they're barely making it, and I may only be the only one that the businesses, like many of us said, they're just, they're losing business, and we need more revenue. And at this time, would it be wise to have them lease it from us and pay? Just my thought.
Okay. Yolanda. David?
Yeah, Don, is there any way that, when we do in the 90 days that, trying to figure out where we're gonna go with a permanent parklet, also put in some kind of, reason, argument in favor of the parklet, because of its historical value, how it will, impact the city itself, the historical district, how it will, enhance it one way or the other. And you would put an argument in there when, why we're gonna do permanent parklets versus temporary. In other words, you got a parklet out there, and the reason why we have it there, it does not interfere with the historical value of downtown.
yes, I'm glad you brought that point up, Commissioner Maderos, because I had a conversation with the State Historical Society on this same exact topic, and I forgot to mention that in my presentation. So their concern, of course, is the historic nature of the buildings themselves. So we want to re-emphasize over and over again that the parklets are here to enhance that building facade and doesn't want to block it or otherwise distract from it. So it's to be an addition to. And I think when we talked about this in our business forum, one of the business owners actually talked about how historic they are because hopefully COVID is a once in 100-year situation, and it's our historic response to that pandemic.
Thank you.
David, Shirley?
There doesn't seem to be any end in sight to COVID, so it seems to me that what we're trying to do to the business owners downtown to help them survive in the meantime, I certainly, at this point in time, would approve extending this to give us time to study, what would happen if it was indeed made permanent for all the ramifications of that. That's it.
Thank you, Shirley. Scott?
Thank you. Definitely in favor of extending and then doing a little more research on parklets in the future. My concern with parklets is if one business leaves and the next one comes in, will they want that parklet? Who's responsible for taking it down if it needs to go? And I have a hard time leasing out a piece of the city street. That's just kind of, because that business pays a lot of taxes for that street. So the lease part, I can't say I agree with. The extension, I'm definitely agree with. And I sure seems like people sure have a good time in downtown with all these parklets right now. So I have absolutely no problem with seeing those in the future. And as far as permanent structures with footings and foundations, I mean, we'd leave that up to the business owner. I mean, if they don't want to they don't want to comply to the engineering, then they don't get a permanent structure like that, a roof or whatever. It's because that's going to be a whole lot different. I know the governor gave city managers a lot of leeway on how to survive through this the COVID, and once it's over with, I'm sure we're all going to go back to normal. And surely FISA is about ready to crank out about 50 million vaccines, so we're getting close, guys. So just fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed.
Thank you.
Scott? Okay, I have some questions about the engineering or something. Are we going to mess with the asphalt, or is only in the surface?
it wasn't clear to me that footings would be required for roofs, so we may simply have to consider a new guideline that says no roofs, because we don't want to permeate the asphalt. That's the whole point. If you read early in the guidelines, it talks about they should be built in such a way that the street can be returned to normal when the parklet's no longer required or desired. So I think that's a weird way of saying it's permanent, but it's temporary. So I think that's something that we'll need to talk about and talk in our business forum and in other places about what's best. But I don't think our city engineer would approve us drilling footings, boring holes in the streets.
Okay. Well, I agree about the extension, but I don't agree about, to release the street. I think it's in a struggle time, and we need to support our merchants. So I agree with extend the parking program.
I also agree with the extension, and I have an issue with leasing it to the businesses. And making it, like Don said, that if there's a problem with putting in the 4x4s for the roofing, I don't think we should tamper with the streets or add anything to attach to the buildings, but just leave it as it is. So I do agree with extending it, the permanent, the parklets.
Yeah, can I suggest we extend this to 90 days, and in that time period, we'll start working on looking at permanent stuff. But for now, let's get that over and move that on to the planning commission, and then bump it to the city council, and let's keep moving.
Do we need public comment on this first?
Yeah, I think so.
Public comments.
This is Karen, I've got my hand up.
Please, Karen, come on.
Okay, I agree with the 90-day extension, but when we're talking about permanent, I think that needs to be discussed in a public forum, give the public an opportunity to also weigh in, because if it's going to be permanent, then we may have some much better ideas on how to make it permanent. And maybe we do need to, put footings in the street and have something uniform, a uniform roofing system. I know somebody else commented possibly on a wooden sidewalk, to access the parklets, but a little more uniformity, and there could be some really good ideas out there on how to make them permanent. So I would encourage the city to have a public input on how to make it permanent. Thank you.
Thank you, Cara. Public comments?
Yes. This is Fran from Bury 25. Thank you so much, you guys. I love everything that you guys are saying. It's very supportive. It makes me feel really great to be a business in San Juan Bautista. You have no idea. We have not been able to host people in our public tap room since March. We've been closed since March. And on top of that, we have not been allowed to use our parklet either. So we've been just shut down, and just doing to go. And so I really appreciate everything that you guys are saying, your supportive comments. I think, what's being said is really great. We as businesses, we will do whatever we decide, you guys decide that we need to do to make these permanent. We definitely will. And I know there's been a lot of discussion about just missing the boat on some of the guidelines and this and that, but we can work all that out. I know that we can. If you guys just work with us, we will convert and change and modify whatever we need to do, but we are a long ways away from getting to a point where we're back to 100% occupancy. We're 25% right now, and maybe we'll be 50 in the beginning of the year, but we're long away from being 100% occupancy. And so these are really great comments, and we all appreciate it, especially with the winter coming. That's our next challenge. We had a really good introduction to that this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
with a lot of the businesses with winter, like, we were all hustling, everybody was hustling. It's gonna be really ugly, and we need to hear these positive comments, so, I really thank you for that. Cheers.
Thank you, Brian. Mrs. B?
I also would like to thank everyone for the consideration and the realization of the things that we're dealing with and the positivity, because that's going to keep us afloat, knowing that we have somebody looking out for us, that we're not out here by ourselves trying to survive this pandemic and all the issues that come along with it. The way things are looking is COVID is going to be with us for a while, and we just have to adapt, as we often do, to everything that comes along. But I truly appreciate all of the hard work that everybody is doing. We just need to feel that we have the support of the entities around us to help us to move forward.
Thank you. Yeah, Don?
Yes, thank you, Liz. I just want to challenge this Historic Resources Board with this idea. I agree with Scott Frills 100% that right now we just have to extend this thing to 90 days, to March, I guess. But the challenge to this board is when you talk about permanency of outdoor seating, what does that look like? I would submit to you that the number one thing that the city of San Juan Bautista has to sell to its tourists is its aesthetic. And that's the aesthetic of downtown 3rd Street. That's the Mission, the Plaza, and we do not want to ruin that aesthetic. But whatever we do on 3rd Street in terms of permanency needs to be compatible with that historical vernacular. It needs to fit in. And I think it would be a huge, huge mistake to start building what amounts to separate structures in front of the businesses that exist on 3rd Street. Separate structures meaning posts and foundations and footings and roofs in front of these historic structures. Whereas, as an alternative, if there's more canvas, umbrellas, awnings, things like that, I would challenge this committee to think of Europe, think of Italy, think of Paris. Paris has had sidewalk cafes, you can call them permanent, but they've been there for 200-300 years. Sidewalk cafes in Paris with umbrellas and awnings only. They don't build roofs over that. They don't sink footings. They don't have posts. And it doesn't change the landscape of this, or the streetscape rather, of Paris. Paris remains Paris. And San Juan needs to remain San Juan. So just be very, very careful in the future when you're looking in your mind's eye towards the future and what permanency of parklets looks like. It should look like outdoor seating for our existing businesses and nothing more.
Agree. Thank you, Don.
Thank you, Luis.
Jim?
I would just add that it's very easy to build robust temporary structures that can essentially be semi-permanent. It's done all the time. The other thing is I'm in full agreement that the extension for the temporary occupancy should be granted through March. And with regards to the concept of leases, I can understand the reasoning behind it. I can understand the city and maintaining the mall. I understand the idea of leasing it, but I think also I can probably speak for the people that are here and say no one's made a return on their investment yet in their parklet. No one. They're not even close. So if you're going to consider leasing a lease program for these parklets, I think you also better have, as part of the discussion, what you're going to do to buy out the investments that have been made in those parklets by these business owners. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Somebody else? Okay. adjourn this HRB meeting. Thank you so much.
Luis, is there room for comments at the bottom of the agenda?
It just says adjournment. Should we,
All right.
Louise, should
Should we vote on this?
shouldn't we recommend this to the
Yes,
planning
please.
commission?
Yes.
Yes, please.
Go ahead.
Yes, please.
Okay.
Do that.
Yeah.
I move that I move that we moved on, bump it up to the planning commission, that we extend the next 90 days, and that we begin exploratory committees on new and improved parklets.
I
Not
second that.
Not that some of the parklets could be approved on, because there's some nice ones out there, but, I'm sure we can, put everybody's head together.
I'll second that.
I'll third it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Yours. Okay. Adjourn.
Are we, let's see, we don't have any, Don, you don't have any comments after the action item, or?
Well, that's what I was asking. So I'm gonna take the liberty of making one quick comment. We did get a letter from the Historic Resources Board, from the Historical Society. We shared that copy with the commissioners and HRB, and we respect their request. It's a nice compliment to our city engineer and the work that she did with the community on the newer part of 3rd Street that was just done, and recognize the need to look at the speed of traffic, but more importantly, for the HRB, landscaping. So we need to come up with some historically sensitive landscaping plans for the medians that we created there. And we'll look forward to a lot of community input on the size and shape of shrubbery for the new 3rd Street parking. So I just wanted to recognize that we received the letter and we're taking it seriously and into consideration. So with that, that's the only comment I had.
Yes. Okay.
I move we adjourn the Historic Resource Board.
Second.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
All right.
Okay. Your turn, Scott.
Okay. Let's take, you guys want to take 5 minutes so I can get my stuff in order, and if anybody needs to
Oh, yes.
stretch your legs a wee bit, so how about 5 minutes?
Thank you.
Thank you.
I hope so.
Here.
Everybody here?
Yolanda here? Oh, yeah.
Yolanda's here, David's here. Shirley, are you back? There we go. Okay. Okay, I'd like to start the Tuesday, November 10th, 2020 Special Planning Commission meeting for the city of San Juan Bautista. Can we have a roll call, please?
Yes. David Maderas?
Here.
Yolanda Delgado?
Can you hear?
Oh, shoot. You're muted, Yolanda.
Oh, present, I'm sorry.
Great. Shirley Brewer? Shirley?
I can certainly see her.
Here.
Louise Matchain? Scott Friels?
Here.
Thank you. We have a quorum.
Awesome. Before we get started, if folks don't plan on speaking right away, can we keep our machines muted? I was listening to a copy machine going off in the background and people sorting papers and somebody asking for Oreo cookies, and it kind of threw me a little bit.
Oh, you too? I thought that was what, okay.
I thought my wife was asking if I wanted Oreo cookies. I was like, oh, yeah. So, just real quick, and I apologize for the bald cat, but you don't want to look at this all day. So, here we go. Is there any public comment that is not on the agenda? consent items. Does anybody want to pull A, B, or C from the consent items? It would be the affidavit of posting public hearing notice, and approve the minutes of August 4th.
I will propose that we approve of all these, A, B, and C of 3.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, public hearing items. Consider an amendment to the San Juan Bautista general plan to change the land use designation from public facilities to industrial, and zoning map amendments to change the land use zoning public facilities to industrial. The former city well site is located at the corner of Mission Vineyard Road and San Juan Hollister Road, APN 002-550-007. Is this one yours?
Thank you, Chair Friels. No, it's not. And David Mack, our city planner's done a great job on this, and he's sharing his screen right now, so I'll just get out of his way. Thank you, David.
Thank you, David.
Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Great. So as Chair Friel said, this is the land use designation and zoning map amendment for the Coke property. Let me get my screen to work here. Hold on just a minute. All right. The location of the property is at the corner of Mission Vineyard Road and Old San Juan Hollister Road. The APN number is on the screen. I won't bore you and read through it in the interest of time. And just a reminder that the current zoning and the land use designations are both listed as public facilities. And you'll see a map of where it's at in a moment. The scope of the work, as Chair Friel said, is a general plan amendment to change the land use designation from public facilities to industrial, so that the property owner can use it for his benefit, which was part of the agreement. And a zoning map amendment, which is part 2, to also change the zoning classification, slightly different than the land use designation, from public facilities to industrial as well. A little bit of background: in August of 2018, the city considered and approved a land swap to come into compliance with Compliance Order 02.05.16R.004. And City Manager Reynolds can correct me when I'm done if I'm incorrect on this. I believe that was due to water quality, which necessitated the need for the city to acquire a well that produced better water. So the city's actions were to purchase the lot that well 6 sat on, which was previously owned by the Cokes, or owned by the Cokes at that time. Well 6 would be used for city use, and that agreement included the purchase of approximately 3/4 of an acre of land from Mr. Coke. That agreement also included the granting of 5 water and sewer connections for use on the well 3 property that he would be getting in the swap, and the adjacent property, which was approximately 11.77 acres. And as I looked over this, I thought, wow, 5 sewer connections, and 5 sewer connections on over 10 acres is about 1 for every 2 acres, right? So it's not a very high density. And then on the Cokes action, or the Coke side of this swap, they purchased 0.73 acres of land from the city, which is where the well 3 sat. So effectively, the Cokes purchased well 3, which was the old city well. The cities purchased well 6, which was previously the Coke well. And they would be swapping the land on which they sat. Under the agreement, Mr. Coke can use the well 3 for his use and or future abandonment, whatever he wants. And then as a third part, there was also a lot line adjustment on the well 3 parcel to allow the city to retain the sewer lift station, which was approximately 0.05 acres.
So the land swap was exactly the same of 0.73 acres. Each entity received a different well than they had before. So this is the approximate location. Tell me if you can see the cursor. Yes.
Yes.
Now the Coke property, previously the city property. And I believe this is the public facilities, I'm sorry. So this is for the land use designation. This was the entire property. It was previously all industrial here with the exception of the 0.73 acre parcel, which was public facilities. And, I'm sorry, I'm confused. Up in the upper right-hand corner, it is noted as public facilities, sorry. And it will become purple or industrial with the exception of this small portion, which is where the sewer lift station sits. So this is the portion that was exempted from the lot line, or exempted through the lot line adjustment. So public facilities go into industrial with the exception of the sewer lift station. So that would be the land use designation change. The next map looks exactly the same because in San Juan Bautista, the land use designation and the zoning actually mimic each other. So, but we do have to change both the land use designation through the general plan and to the zoning through the zoning plan. The project can be considered exempt from CEQA under 15061B3, which is known as the common sense exemption, which basically states, and I'm just going to read this paragraph. The activity is covered by the common sense exemption that CEQA applies only to projects that have the potential for causing a significant effect, where it can be seen with certainty that there is no possibility that the activity in question may have a significant effect on the environment. The activity is not subject to CEQA. So in this case, because the agreement involves an equal exchange of land, and it will be zoned from public facilities to industrial, and then secondarily, if this is approved and accepted, the city will need to rezone their land from industrial to public facilities. The rezoning and land use change will not result in an increase of industrial zone property within the general plan or the city. So equal land swap. This is the first portion of the rezoning puzzle. If this is approved, then the city will need to rezone their portion, and the net effect will be the Cokes own a different piece of land and a different well. The city owns that agreement was executed, but the city owns a different piece of land and a different well, and the zonings will swap for the intended uses. So staff does recommend that the Planning Commission adopt a resolution to recommend that the council adopt a final resolution to change the land use designation of the Coke property from public facilities to industrial. And second, recommend that the city council adopt a second resolution to change the zoning designation of the Coke property from public facilities to industrial. And the reason these are separate actions or resolutions is you can't change the zoning until you've changed the land use designation. So they have to be done in this order. And with that, I'm sure that people have questions, but I'll be happy to answer them to the best that I can.
Okay, thank you, David. Luis, do you have a question?
No, was a very nice work. A really good job, actually. David did a great job. Thank you, David.
Okay, Yolanda, anything?
No. We're just cleaning up some land issues that wasn't finalized. Is that what we're doing?
Yeah, exactly. So that agreement did swap the land, and currently Mr. Coke owns land that is owned public facilities, and he can't actually do anything that he would like to do with it, right? Whereas before he owned land that was owned industrial. And the intention of the agreement was that this rezoning land use designation swap should have occurred in 2018. I won't get into why, because I don't exactly know why, but it didn't happen under
No one does.
previous city leadership. And Mr. Koch brought that to the city's attention. And Don, Mr. Koch, and I, and his representations have been working to remedy that discrepancy, so that he can use the land that he swapped. And then conversely, if this is approved, the city will do the same thing on their property and change that from industrial to public facilities to denote that it is a public facilities development for the city well.
David, anything?
Yeah, David, could you talk a little bit about the purchase agreement that happened? At the time, I guess, when it initially was, established?
Sure. I mean, I'm not overly familiar with it. I did include the purchase agreement as an attachment to the staff report. Was there a specific question you had on it? I mean, the intent.
Yeah, it seems like we paid more and they paid less than what our purchase was.
Well, I mean, that may have been the case, but the agreement was executed and that's a done deal.
Yeah.
I can say that I think that, because the city needed a well that worked at the time, the bargaining power was on behalf of the party.
That's 100% right. That's 100% right, David.
I mean, I'm trying to be political about it, right?
You're doing an exceptional job.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Shirley, anything?
I just would like to ask Don if he got clarification because of my close proximity to this particular project, if there's any reason that I cannot just continue with this discussion.
Oh, that's right.
I did receive clarification, Shirley, and it would equally affect all of the coach owners in your park, and we're not talking about real property within 500 feet. So the city attorney and I talked at 4:30 this afternoon, and she saw no conflict of interest.
That's absolutely great. Thank you for following through on that. I appreciate it.
Sure.
No, I think this is all very straightforward and just kind of a housekeeping at this particular point.
Right.
Okay, the land swap, didn't we, let's see, the Kochs, when they did the swap, I remember we did some type of a parcel split. Was it a subdivision, or did they, how is that, I could have sworn it was gonna be 5 parcels. Five residential parcels.
I'm not aware that they did that there was a subdivision done as part of the swap. To the best of my knowledge, maybe Don can chime in. I don't think that there was ever a subdivision process on the new Koch property. I can tell from looking at the record that there was obviously the intention that they would get up to 5 sewer connections and water connections, so there was obviously some thought. But I don't believe that application was ever processed, and it was not part of the agreement of the land swap. That would have been a separate application.
Okay, maybe it's the 5 sewer connections I'm thinking about. So that piece of property is that whole little corner over there in San Juan's gonna all stay industrial except for that one little section of where our well site is.
Where the sewer pump station is, yeah, or lift station.
Okay, okay. Planning Commission, any more questions?
Yeah, so were the 5 sewer connections added on, or was that in the original agreement? That question.
That was part of the original agreement that was executed. Again, I think that there was some negotiating power.
There was Yolanda, there was some haste kind of brought forward to us because of possibility of San Juan not ponying up their part of the deal, and we might have gotten a bunch of trouble. So at the time, I'm not sure, Shirley might have been on with me at the time, but we kind of got put over a barrel on that one. It wasn't a pleasant day. Oh, okay.
At the time, the city was in need of a functioning well.
Yes. Because of Rancho Vista and Copperleaf.
Well, let's hold the public comment until we're finished. Anything else, guys? And I can move it on to public comment?
No.
Okay, anybody out there with public comment? I can't see if you're raising your hand, so if somebody could help me with that.
Well, Scott, I was just saying that was because of Rancho Vista and Copperleaf. Both those projects, as you are aware, were approved contingent upon them being able to hook up to San Juan water. And they were both built prior to being able to hook up to San Juan water. So here we have houses built with no connection to San Juan water. And I think that's kind of the backstory that everyone needs to understand as to why we did what I consider to be a very terrible deal with Dale Coke on that Coke well. That's a terrible, terrible deal. Good for Coke, bad for the city. And that's what happened there.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else?
Yeah, Scott, if I can, just because the question came up, I think for it's Yolanda Delgado. The sewer connection is included in the original agreement under section 6.03, section B. If anybody wants to look at that.
Thanks. Any other public comment? Okay, not hearing any. Let's move back to the commission. Any other questions, guys, folks, ladies, gentlemen?
No.
Nope. Okay. Public hearing, we're not gonna make, so it's not an action item, is that correct? Or we just, it's just something we needed to hear, and then, are we gonna hear it again, Doc?
Oh, no, this is the public hearing.
No, it's an action item. The planning commission needs to pass, resolutions to recommend approval to the city council.
Okay.
Thank
Leave
you.
that up to the commission. What's your pleasure?
So are we gonna do both of them?
Yes, yes, land use.
Okay, I'll make a motion. Make a motion, for, resolution, number 2020 what?
6.
6,
Okay, resolution number 2026, make a motion, a resolution of the City of San Juan Bautista Planning Commission recommending approval of a general plan, land use map amendment to reclassify the property land use designation from public facility to industrial for the property located at the corner of Mission Vineyard Road and Old San Juan Hollister Road. Assessors parcel number is 002-550-007.
I second that, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay, nay, me.
One nay. Yolanda, did you get that, Trish?
Okay, yes, thank you.
Okay. Don't you guys love when David falls on the sword on those great big, that mouthful? Thank you, David.
So you guys actually have two actions. That first one that, Commissioner Medeiros did was for attachment 1. And then there's an attachment 2 for a resolution for the zoning change.
Oh, okay. Okay, good deal. I think that's why I asked her, we're doing both at the same time.
Yeah, that's,
Okay.
Want me
David,
to go to the second one?
Sure.
Okay, resolution number 2027.
Yes.
yes,
Make a motion on a resolution of the City of San Juan Bautista Planning Commission recommending adopting an ordinance amending the City of San Juan Bautista's zoning map, rezoning the property located at the corner of Mission Vineyard Road and Old San Juan Hollister Road. Parcel number is 002-550-007 from public facility to industrial.
Mr. Chair, I second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
aye.
Okay. Did you get that, Trish?
Yes. 5-0.
no, 4-1.
You did 4-1?
It was 4-1,
No, I
okay.
said, I agree. I said
You
aye.
agreed. Okay, you agreed with that one?
I got 5-0.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Let's move on to approve resolution 2027? 28. 28?
Yes.
Recommending the city council extend the term of the temporary parklets on 3rd Street, and I'd like to add into that, to 90 days.
What section is that, 5, Scott?
5, yeah, the action item 5.
5A.
Okay, I would like to make the resolution of 2027,
28.
a resolution of Planning Commission of San Juan Bautista recommending that the city council extend the term of the temporary parklets on 3rd Street to 90 days or until March 30th, 2021.
Can I ask real quick, Yolanda, I'm gonna throw out there to see if any this case.
Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot. I'm sorry.
No problem. I just wanna make sure nobody joined us late and they either have a comment or question, so.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Is there any public comment? Okay.
Yes.
Yes, go ahead.
Got Dan DeVries here. I had a question for this, that I put in the chat window that I was left unanswered, I think, during the HRB portion of this meeting. As to, because there was a lot of discussion about, guardrail height, 36 versus 42 or 46 or whatever it was. As to guardrails that are currently built, is there going to be any kind of grandfather provision during the 90-day extension? Or is it the fact that if Donia's guardrail is less than what it should be, they have to tear it out and rebuild it?
No, I don't think we said anything about tearing stuff down, but that's a good question. Dawn, is that something that's gonna get our butts in a ringer if we don't have that thing where it's supposed to, or are we pretty much covered by the governor's orders to be able to get things done as safely as possible?
So, those are good questions, and I thought I heard Greg Johnson, and he called me after the meeting, say that 42 was the requirement. So, as far as meeting the letter of the Uniform Building Code, all of the guardrails are of sufficient height and are safe. So
Okay.
it's just a matter of meeting our own guidelines. That's a question now.
Beautiful. Dan, are you good with that?
Yeah, well, just to follow up, Scott. So, Don, if they're deemed to be less than 42, then what? Does Donia's have to? I don't know what Donia's is right now. I'm just using them as a hypothetical.
No, I had no indication.
I'm using Donia's as the test monkey here. If Donia's guardrail is less than whatever these new guidelines say it should be, do they have to tear it out and rebuild it?
No.
So hypothetically, if there were a parklet now with a guardrail that was not in compliance with the Uniform Building Code, they would have to bring it into compliance with the Uniform Building Code. Greg has been out there on numerous occasions over the past 4 to 6 weeks, and he's never once brought the height of a guardrail to my attention as being too low or insufficient. So I'm confident that he has considered that in his inspections, and he has inspected all of them. So I don't see that happening. So it may not be a guardrail. It may be another piece of the parklet that's only 36 inches.
Sure. I'm just of course concerned about, and like I said last time during HRB, let's face it, the only two parklets that are really of moment are Donia's and Anaka. I think the guardrail height on both of those is fine. I would hope further that once this extension is passed, which I think it's going to be by this commission right now, that we can have some type of grandfather in provision for the parklets as they exist today, as regards Donia's and Ignaka.
As long as they're consistent with the building code, I would support that.
All right.
Yeah, and I'm happy with Don's answer. I think if the building inspector would have heard or saw something, I think he would have thrown a flag up.
I think so too. Yeah, you're right.
Okay. Any more public? Yep, you're welcome. Any more public comment?
Yes, can you hear me? Cara Bonk.
Oh, yep.
I think the guidelines that you passed said 36-48. You know, it was a range. So that should cover everybody,
Thank
in
you.
my view.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think so too.
That was our intent.
Okay, anybody else? Okay, back to the commission. Yolanda, you wanna
Start,
give it,
okay.
you wanna give it another shot? You right now, don't you? Have
The
David
rest-
read it, he's good at that.
Yeah, the resolution 2020-20, is it 27 or 28?
Dash 8.
08. 8.
Oh, wait.
Oh, wait.
08?
Yeah.
08, okay. A resolution of the planning committee of the city of San Juan Bautista recommending that the city council extend the term of the temporary parklets on 3rd Street to 90 days or until March 30th, 2021.
Joe, second.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Fantastic. Moving right along. Okay, Don is back up again. He's gonna give us an update on the urban growth boundary and the sphere of influence ad hoc committee. And when Don's finished, I'd like to maybe have a few minutes to chime in on, you know, what I've witnessed and what I've, you know, learned, and maybe Luis might also. It's been interesting. So, Don, please.
Thank you, Scott. Thank you, Chair. A quick background and review. The City Council and Planning Commission appointed 2 members each to form an ad hoc committee. Councilmember DeVries, Mayor Edge, Planning Chair Friels, and Historic Resource Board Chair Machain, and 1 at-large member, Jackie Morris Lopez. Jackie could not be here tonight. She's out of town, but she did send a little bit of a written testimony to share with you later. One of the first things we did was develop a mission statement. That mission statement should be on your screen, and I'll just read it. The mission of this committee is to establish limits to and boundaries for growth that will serve and protect the city of San Juan Bautista now and into the future. So that's the marching orders that our ad hoc committee has agreed to. It has met 5 times to discuss history and purpose. It sharpened its focus because it was pointed out by a LAFCO presentation that our current sphere of influence is actually the 1998 General Plan sphere of influence. The 2016 General Plan, that sphere of influence never came forward to LAFCO for approval. So the county has also been part of our conversations, as of course they would be an integral partner. And most recently I've met with their new Resource Management Agency Director, and I think we'll be good partners moving forward. So real quick, we wanted to just quickly touch bases on the 1998 General Plan, and this colorful depiction may be hard to read, so that's why I used colors on it just to help you understand. The smallest picture inside the red boundary there was our city's incorporated limits in 1998. And then the green boundary was actually the urban growth boundary. And it's interesting to note how the urban growth boundary was in places smaller than the city limit. The blue boundary is the sphere of influence. And then the yellow boundary is something referred to as a planning area. The biggest line is a planning area. So it's like an onion layered with different pieces, and each one has a different definition. And so from the 98 plan here, we learned that San Juan in the yellow box is talking about its small town character and how important it is for our city to be processing quality projects that maintain our small town character, thinking that if it were to grow, it would grow, and that the addition of an urban growth boundary, which I can't read my own writing. Time out. My eyes aren't that good anymore. I just want to read this for you because I think it's really good information. That the urban growth boundary, the plan establishes an urban growth boundary which marks the ultimate boundary of urban development in San Juan Bautista during the lifetime of the 1998 general plan. The land outside this boundary will remain in agriculture and open space uses. The plan emphasizes the importance of preserving farmland and open space throughout the San Juan Valley. So that's just, can you hear me? I hope so. That's just an example of some of the language. The plan authority outside the city limits is important as well, because it's used as a tool to advise the county that we have an interest in protecting this land as far as the sphere of influence and planning area are concerned. That only about 15% of the area covered by the plan lies within the current city limits. The balance of the area is in the unincorporated San Benito County, and the county will retain planning and building authority over these areas until and unless they are incorporated into the city of San Juan Bautista. So that's the parameters that we've been working under, all stemming from that original 1998 general plan document. So this is the sphere of influence that we've shared in the 2016 general plan. Interestingly enough, we have a fully documented, thorough negative deck environmental document that was prepared to bring this forward to LAFCO. And apparently, and maybe some of you know better than I'm reporting, it did not make it from the city council to LAFCO. It didn't survive. Why? It includes 1,400 acres. It estimates a build-out in 2035 of 4,900 residents, and that equals about 46 new homes a year. So this sphere of influence never went forward, and that's why we focused David Mack's scope of work, and the committee decided to focus on a new sphere of influence. So what this map shows, and it's kind of hard to read, but you can see the familiar San Juan red line and its borders there, current. What we asked the GIS team to do was give us a map that showed all of the parcels adjacent to the current incorporated boundary. And it's a little larger than the old sphere of influence. It's about 1,600 acres. And we went through the exercise of picking parcels and having conversations around which parcels should be in the sphere of influence and which parcels should not be. And until you actually sit down and try and do it, it's hard. You know, this parcel here, the parcel on the far right, that's a huge parcel, and you can't slice them in half. So if they're that big, maybe they're out. We have property owners who would like to be included in the sphere, and maybe we've, in our draft, excluded them. So the idea is just to share the exercise. It took two of our 5 meetings to go through each of these parcels, and then in this wonderful photograph that I took from my office, you still get the gist of the decision making. We have the 5 committee members on the right in various colors, and you can see where they agreed and where they disagreed. But for the most part, they all seem to agree that the new sphere of influence for San Juan Bautista should be smaller than what was proposed in 2016. So yes, we are here today seeking feedback from the ad hoc committee members who are present and the Planning Commission as a whole, and we'll take this feedback and refine the map further and come back with a recommended map. We'll be talking to the property owners themselves along the way, and make sure that we have everyone's input as we bring this back. This will go through the Planning Commission approval first, and then the City Council approval, and there's also associated with it a municipal services report that has to be prepared that describes our ability to provide water and sewer and other services to these areas should we annex them. And then lastly, of course, is the CEQA document, and we're looking at the current CEQA document for the general plan to see if we can just amend that and bring it forward as simply and inexpensively as possible. So with that, members of the ad hoc committee, if you would like to share your feelings and thoughts on this process. It's been an interesting process so far. Thank you, Chair Fields. We'll start, I guess, with you.
Thank you. Yeah, really quick, I I know we all saw I'm pretty sure most of us had a LabCo presentation during a planning commission meeting, and it was a huge eye opener for most of us. Just reinforcing the fact that, Don, could I ask you a huge favor? Could you show me the 2035 map that has the sphere of influence on it? Is that it right there?
Yes,
That's the 16.
the 1,400
That one
acres,
that-
right.
What was the one that wasn't approved?
This one.
Okay. So if you take a look at this map, none of that was approved. That blue line, it never went to the county and never got finished. So what I did is I just washed that blue line out of my head. I didn't even realize it. I mean, I just didn't want it to exist because it didn't exist. One of the things I wanted to make sure is that we weren't too sprawled out, and then the eye opener was the 46 homes a year. At that, if you're looking at that map within that blue line, could you imagine 46? I mean, that's 4,000 homes, almost 5,000 homes going in with that, and there's no way we're prepared for it. What Don says on the parcels, the nice part about looking at the parcel maps, which were those ones in purple, is that way, in the prime example is the large one on the right-hand side. You can't just cut somebody's piece of land in half and have half of it in the county and half in the city as far as your sphere of influence. Because remember, sphere of influence means we're going to probably eventually annex to that piece of that line at one point in time. So, I mean, could you imagine? I don't even know who owns it. I don't have the list in front of me, but that would have been just terribly confusing. And the whole ad hoc committee pretty much had that same mindset, and it was nice seeing really how the outlying area was for San Juan, but just by looking at it, you knew exactly what was tomato fields, what was grazing land, what was a kind of a flatter space that sometimes gets farmed. I mean, we kind of really got a good idea of the areas around town. And then the environmental dock. Jackie Morris came up with a great point. She did a little research, and the city of Patterson, or Newman, decided to put their urban growth boundary and their specific growth, or the sphere of influence, the exact same lines. And in doing that, it cleared up a lot of complications for us, the stuff we were hearing. Plus, in talking to Don and David, we may be able to get like a 2-for-1 on the CEQA docs. That's right. There's really no reason to do two of them, two documentations, CEQA documentations, if we're following the same lines. So that was a big thing. We all listened to that. We're like, wow, that makes sense. And just like Don said, it really wasn't as easy as it looked. And the amount of knowledge, David and Don brought so much to the plate on this one, and basically gave us a crash course in, sphere of influence and urban growth boundaries, and the differences between green belts and urban growth boundaries. And it was a lot to digest. It was 5 meetings of a lot. I'm going home just thinking to myself, wow, what did I get myself into? But we did good. We all finally got together at the library. Of course, we all kept our social distancing and had masks on, and we drew the stuff out, and we were able to discuss things with it. And it was a nice, I think we had a good range of people from, our community. And I have to say, Jackie brought a lot to the table as our citizen at large. She brought a lot of common sense, and she's steadfast. And she and Dan DeVries, it's like, this town's not going to grow, So it was kind of nice to have that, and those things backing me up, because I thought the same way. So let's see. We've got Luis. You want to take a shot, and then we'll go to Dan. Luis.
I think we are all moving in the same way. I'm a little bit feeling more. I'm not saying ambitious. I'm saying a little bit more I took a little bit, I marked more land in my sphere of influence. But I think we are all concur in the same boundary. So that's good, and I like that we are all in the same track, and I like it. I think because that means that we want the same from San Juan, and we are not so far from the reality, I think.
Thank you, Annecy. We'll read Jackie's comments after Dan. I don't think Mayor Edge is here tonight or on tonight, but Dan, do you have anything to say?
Yeah, I do, Scott. Thank you. I just want to get down to brass tacks here a little bit because I'm sure these planning commissioners are kind of looking at this map, and that's the perfect map to have up on the screen, Don. Thank you for sharing it. So what did the ad hoc committee do, and where did we agree, and where did we disagree? Luis just spoke, and his is the blue line that goes way up north there to that left corner. That's Luis's blue line. Everyone else, however, was kind of unanimous in having the spirit. Let me take a time out right here. We're talking about creating a sphere of influence line and an urban growth boundary. And there's a couple things that need to be very clear right now. When you create a sphere of influence line, you're basically saying to LAFCO, to the county, to the community, and to developers, we are willing to provide sewer and water to these areas. If you provide sewer and water to an area, that is carte blanche for home building from the north. So you have to be very careful where you say you're going to provide sewer and water, which is the same thing as saying sphere of influence. So this ad hoc committee, as you'll see from the map that's on the screen, agreed that the city limit line should be the city limit line, the sphere of influence, and the urban growth boundary. And then as it went south on that western side, that's where there was some divergence that occurred. I thought that you could kind of see an orange line going there from left to right. That's my line. And you can see other lines from the other committee members going south of mine, which says that they believe that that whole area south of the highway, between the highway and the foothills of the toes of those mountains, should be provided with unlimited sewer and water. Unlimited. What do I mean by unlimited? We just did a deal, you all saw it in the papers or heard about it, with the Hollister Hills water treatment plant and the Hollister sewer treatment plant. We are going to have unlimited water and unlimited sewer. That is a calling card to attract housing developers. So if we're going to provide that unlimited water and sewer to the other side of the highway, I can virtually guarantee you folks, you who are listening on the planning commission, it's going to be wall-to-wall housing over there. And I don't want to see that happen. Those fellow committee members of mine, I think that they included that area because they wanted to have control over it, quote unquote. They wanted to make sure that the county could not do a development there that would not be to San Juan's liking. So earlier this afternoon, I was talking with Don Reynolds, and we were talking about this concept of a planning area, which I brought up a number of months ago, maybe 2 months ago. And I'm confident, and David Mack, if you're listening to this, I brought this up to you too. I'm confident that we can introduce a planning area like we had in our 1998 general plan that would give us some amount of control over areas that are immediately outside of our boundaries, which would not require us as a prerequisite to including those areas into our sphere of influence and providing those sewer and water. In other words, we can gain control of our immediate area without encouraging house building. I think that can be done. So therefore, my line is the one that you see right now on your screen that Don shared. It's the orange one that goes from left to right, pretty close to the highway, and excludes everything south of 156. I do not want to see south of 156, the other side of the highway, be wall to wall to wall tract housing. I love it over there. It's beautiful. The road to the retreat, are you kidding me? All of that firm ground, it's very, very fertile, great soil. It's beautiful land. I do not want to see that turn into Campbell or San Jose or Gilroy or even Hollister. I don't want to see that happen. And I don't think we need to. Thanks, Scott.
You're welcome, Dan. I don't think we have any, like I said, I don't think that Mayor Edge is here. So I'll go to the Planning Commission for questions. Shirley, do you have any questions about what we've been through?
I don't have any questions, but I'm just thinking about the humongous task that you've undertaken, and I think you've got a great start.
Okay. Luis, do you have anything else to add?
Well, I think, I respect what Dan says about and me neither. I don't want to see a lot of a bunch of houses. My thought is not, to allow, or convert San Juan as San Jose or even Hollister as I said. I don't want either. But my thought is to control our boundaries. And I think if we expand a little bit more our sphere of influence, I think we have a control of these areas. I don't think, I don't want to have a bunch of houses next to each other in the future. I don't see that in my perspective. I see control of territory. It's what I see.
Okay, thank you. David, anything to add or ask?
Oh, I've got a whole bunch of questions. I like the smallness of it. I'm kind of going with Dan's views. As smaller, the better. Once we put this into stone, you might say, once this is built in and it goes through LAPCO and we get it approved, how permanent are we? Okay, now it's built into our general plan. It's there. How permanent is the sphere of influence? How permanent is the urban growth boundary? That's one of my questions. And I also like the idea about combining the sphere of influence with the urban growth boundary as well. I like that. What really concerns me is what happens outside of the boundary put in place. And how and what does LAFCO give us? What kind of protection do we have going into the future? Now that we got a general plan, now LAFCO